In the Los Angeles suburb of Glendale today, police hotline operators manning the phones hoping for leads to determine if 28-year-old respiratory therapist Efren Saldivar helped kill as many as 50 patients over a 9-year period at this hospital.
This has been an all-out search for the truth for this hospital.
A search into claims that Saldivar ended the lives of seriously ill patients, either by lethal injection or blocking their oxygen supply.
This type of case is just very difficult. You're looking for a needle in a haystack, basically.
Acting on a tip, Adventist Hospital began looking into reports of suspicious deaths in April of last year. But the real break came last month when an outside source shared details about more mysterious deaths. Saldivar then allegedly confessed.
He had parameters that he would work within, which that the patient had to have a do not resuscitate order, that the patient had to be unconscious, and in his opinion had to be ready to die.
Investigators will look at deaths at other local hospitals where Saldivar worked and may exhume bodies of his patients. To calm public fears, the hospital has suspended its entire respiratory staff with pay. The hospital also fired Saldivar, and his medical license has been suspended. But until there's more evidence of a crime, the self-proclaimed angel of death remains a free man. Farland Chang, NBC News, Los Angeles. Loud cheers from adoring fans have followed her wherever she goes in Amarillo. Oprah Winfrey, the queen of daytime TV.
I have a great deal of admiration for her.
But Oprah is also being sued for saying things that may have hurt the backbone of this panhandle prairie town, the cattle industry. Mike Williams is a sympathetic rancher.
We're pretty sensitive about our cattle industry, so naturally we support it. And we don't need any bad publicity on it, but hopefully she'll reconsider and have a hamburger.
At Danae's Steakhouse restaurant, this sign sums up the feeling of many local residents.
I like the Oprah show, but hamburgers, beef is our business. That's how we make our living.
Manager Craig Gualtier says the trial is useful because it raises important questions about the use of free speech.
I'm a big advocate of freedom of the speech, but I'm also a big advocate of holding people responsible for what they say.
In Amarillo, they say 3 things are sacred: God, country, and cattle.
I got to go with the cattleman, just strictly because of my dad, because I know it affects us when the cattle market goes down.
But even if they have a beef with Oprah, they want her to know they still welcome her.
Well, I'm in the pork industry, so hopefully she'll still eat bacon and ham.
While some here disagree with Oprah Winfrey for what she said, others adore her for who she is. It's a love-hate relationship between a small cow town and arguably the most powerful woman in America. Farland Chang, NBC News, Amarillo, Texas. Once again, these ailing sea lions are being battered by the hand of El Nino, on land and by sea. Starting in November, they were washed ashore, weak, hungry, and emaciated, their food supply driven away by El Nino's warm ocean waters. Then, as they recover here at the Friends of the Sea Lion Marine Mammal Center in Laguna Beach, El Nino strikes again, this time by land. Volunteers hear what sounds like thunder just before the rain-soaked hillside washes away.
I mean, it was shaking the land, shaking us up, shaking the animals up. And over that next hour, mud started pouring in.
After the mud came sliding down the hill, pools of water became pools of mud up to 5 feet deep. Had the volunteers not evacuated the sea lions just minutes before, they would have been buried alive.
Just suppose if another mudslide happened and we were out there digging for the animals, we would have been under the mud as well. So we were very lucky.
But 1 in 5 of these pups are not expected to survive this winter. First starved out of the ocean, now displaced by the earth.
It is adding insult to injury. We had some animals ready to go, but now we're probably going to have them for a couple more weeks.
Some sea lions are so stressed from the mudslide and being kicked out of water that they stop eating. They will be kept indoors for many more days because of all the mud.
They need to come outside so that we can acclimate them to being outdoors all the time like they would be in the wild.
The shelter is so packed that sea lions are being housed in offices, and some pups had to be released back into the ocean before they regained full strength.
We're terrified about the upcoming storms, both for the animals that are trying to survive out in the waters now, and for the animals that are here now, for the animals we'll be taking in the future.
It is a sense of terror based on El Niño's wrath, a wrath that is expected to last for at least 2 more months. Farland Chang, NBC News, Laguna Beach, California.
Faced with lackluster sales figures and a falling stock price, the people at McDonald's decided they have to do something. The king of the fast food chains is asking its franchise owners to cut prices to as low as 55 cents for a Big Mac. It's an effort to boost sales, but will the restaurant owners go along? And what about those customers? NBC News correspondent Farland Chang has our report.
From this small hamburger stand in Los Angeles, McDonald's has become the largest restaurant chain in the world. It has also become an icon of American pop culture, a symbol of success based on the same tasty burger and fries served anywhere, fast and friendly.
It was innovative when it came out and initially set a mark. So everybody began to identify McDonald's with America. I mean, it became the symbol of efficiency, speed, and quality.
But lately, McDonald's has been getting fried. Its costliest sandwich ever, the Arch Deluxe, failed. And the other meal McDonald's started, the fast food breakfast, well, the competition is having it their way. Burger King has taken a bite out of the morning meal market. Also, many baby boomers are passing on the fast food and choosing healthier restaurants.
It's very difficult for them to invite us to breakfast when the kinds of breakfast people are eating are really balanced with vitamin intake and combinations of much healthier foods.
Sales have slid to the point where, according to the Wall Street Journal, one internal McDonald's message says competitors are growing faster and stealing share. So McDonald's wants to launch what it calls Campaign 55. 55 cents will get you a Big Mac or other sandwich with the purchase of fries and a drink. The company hopes this value meal will remind folks of the old days, 1955, the year McDonald's first started cooking. McDonald's is expected to pitch its Campaign 55 to franchise owners in a meeting tomorrow. If approved, McDonald's would seem to be returning to the past to regain its glory. But will the past be enough to give customers what they want today? The consumers will decide. Farland Chang, NBC News, Los Angeles.
By the way, it's a face you'll be seeing more and more. With that report, we want to welcome Farland Chang to the fine family of NBC News and MSNBC correspondents around the globe, by way of welcoming Terry Keenan from CNBC, who's been sitting in for the past few days for Ron and Sana. Hello to you.
Hello.
Under Chinese rule. Some are expecting a mass exodus of Hong Kong Chinese by July 1st. Some say it's already happened. Many of the colony's richest business people have gone to live outside Hong Kong just to be on the safe side. NBC News correspondent Farland Chang reports from the place many are now calling home.
The sights. The sound. Even the smell. All conspire to create the distinct aura of Hong Kong. But this is not Hong Kong, it's Vancouver, Canada, home to the wealthiest community of Hong Kong Chinese outside of the colony.
Cheers to success. There we go.
What makes this enclave even more unique is that it has grown up in the image of the island some 6,000 miles away.
You don't need to speak English. All you need to do is speak Chinese everywhere you go, and you see so many Chinese people.
David Ho is heir to one of Hong Kong's biggest fortunes. He emigrated to Vancouver in 1984, right after Britain agreed to hand Hong Kong back to the Chinese. His assignment since then, to protect the family wealth by investing here in Canada.
And he's going to get the demolition permit so we can pull those 2 buildings down and start working on the new one.
His holdings include prime real estate, a golf course, and a luxury car dealership. And his clients are also Hong Kong Chinese and also very rich.
係美國電視台嚟㗎. Most of the people that comes to buy a car, they pay the car out. There's no mortgage, there's no loan or lease on it. They just come and pay cash for it.
Business is the lifeblood of this community. In fact, it was a business deal that made immigration from Hong Kong to Canada possible. The Canadian government literally sold passports in exchange for a $200,000 investment in the country.
Over the past 10 years, I would say most of the major, the wealthiest, the substantial companies or individuals from Hong Kong, they do have investments in Canada.
These, the most successful of Hong Kong's entrepreneurs, are keeping a foot in both worlds. They're using their unique position in the new world to exploit business opportunities in the old. And many spend as much time in Hong Kong as they spend here. Thomas Fung and the thousands like him are known as astronauts, Vancouver residents who commute back and forth to Hong Kong on a regular basis. Handshake deals are done in the old colonial haunts of the British. Only now, the British are the waiters.
Hong Kong is my half home, my second half.
3, 2, 1, kill.
Back in Vancouver, Fung founded the first major Asian TV and radio stations here. He moved to Vancouver with his parents in 1967 after riots inspired by China's Cultural Revolution broke out in Hong Kong.
The family was, they have concerns over the revolution, with the stability of the Hong Kong environment. And so I guess like an insurance policy, they choose to come over here.
Bill Good on CKNW. Our topic is immigration, particularly from Hong Kong.
There is some resentment among the local population, who have watched their once sleepy logging town become a multicultural metropolis.
There's overcrowding everywhere. We just don't have the infrastructure to keep up with it.
I'm actually concerned about the impact that the immigration has on the school system.
Still, for now, Vancouver is home to more than 100,000 Chinese, most of whom hold dual citizenship. But when you ask people like David Ho whether he feels more Canadian or Hong Kong Chinese, he finds it impossible to answer.
I still don't know because it depends on a lot of different things. My children is here, but yet my parents and grandfather's in Hong Kong, so I don't think I can make a decision on that. It could be Hong Kong, could be here, I'm not sure yet.
As they wait to see what happens in Hong Kong following the handover, these jet-age nomads cast doubt on the concept of nationality, determined above all to survive and thrive. Farland Chang, NBC News, Vancouver, Canada.
There is word from parts of the American West tonight that another huge gold rush is underway in this country. Those involved say it's a big one. As NBC's Farland Chang reports tonight, if you can afford to look for it, it's there.
Last century, old-time gold prospectors mined for gold they could see. But today in Nevada, gold prospectors are striking it rich, mining for gold that is literally microscopic.
Right, you can see a lot of gold, little specks of gold all through there.
Geologist John Livermore discovered this so-called invisible gold. He followed up on an obscure 1930s report by a government engineer about some worthless-looking rocks that contain gold.
The key phrase was this was a type of deposit that the old-timers could have missed, right on the surface, because it didn't pan.
So Livermore performed lab tests on more rocks and was amazed at the discovery.
It was so much better than we'd ever dreamed about. I mean, it was many times what we thought we'd find.
His strike in 1961 led to the discovery of more than 30 gold mines. Those mines have produced $18 billion in gold since 1990. And now the U.S. is second only to South Africa in producing gold. It takes money to make this money. Newmont Mining Company says it can take up to 10 years and $100 million to develop one mine. An average of 25 tons of rock must be crushed to squeeze just 1 ounce of gold. And most miners never see the scorching river of gold that is poured into the final product. Each brick of gold weighs 50 pounds and is worth an estimated $250,000 based on today's gold prices. From here, this gold will eventually be sold on the open market. In search of more gold, mining companies are now going underground. It's costlier, but the quality of gold can be 30 times higher.
I think it's more than a rush. I mean, there's a lot more yet to be found.
The new gold rush has turned small desert towns like Elko into boom towns, creating an industry in Nevada that's second only to gambling.
We're quite confident that the industry will have a life of another 20 years.
An industry that started because one man saw wealth where others saw only waste. Farland Chang, NBC News, Elko, Nevada.
And that is NBC Nightly News for this Saturday evening. Dawn Fratangelo will be here with you tomorrow night. I'll see you all next week on the news, on cable, on MSNBC at 9 Eastern, again on CNBC at 10. I'm Brian Williams reporting tonight from New York. Good night. In focus this evening, the mothers whose home-based ideas rapidly become home-based businesses. Our report tonight from NBC's Farland Chang.
Fran Lent just wanted healthy food for her children.
Be nice to your mommy. This works much better. But I think
Lane Nemeth just wanted educational but fun toys for her daughter.
they want you to write this whole sentence.
And Lisa Marie Nelson just wanted some inspirational music to boost her children's self-esteem.
Got a special way to express yourself.
For all three moms, necessity was literally the mother of invention. Lisa Marie now produces children's music videos featuring her own kids shot in her own garage. Fran started Fran's Healthy Helpings, using her own kids as taste testers.
Bite the head off.
Sampling foods in funny shapes with funny names like Lucky Ducky Chicken, Wacky Whale Pizza, and Lovey Dovey Patties.
Again, kind of a surprise that goes in and out.
Lane Nemeth now sells toys she approves of, and the business she started in a garage in 1977 now requires a warehouse the size of 3 football fields. It's an $80 million business with 30,000 salespeople nationwide, most of them moms. Nemeth still recalls a meeting with a warehouse owner when she was just getting started 20 years ago.
He literally said, well, you can't sign this lease. You're a woman. Your husband has to do it. I saw him many years later. I said, remember me?
Do you have a lot of homework?
Scarsdale, New York author Ellen Parlapiano calls women like these mompreneurs. She's one herself. She estimates they are 10 million strong and growing.
Most of the moms we talked to in our survey were working part-time, but were making maybe $30,000 a year on less than 20 hours or so of work.
Mompreneurs are giving up the long commute, the 9-to-5 grind, and the business suits for home-based careers. And one survey shows that most would recommend it to others.
I like running my own company and being the boss and the flexible hours and being able to spend time with my kids. When I before worked for a large company, I felt guilty taking off and going to my child's field trip or doctor's appointment. Now, I don't think anyone should feel that way.
Mompreneurs say support from the spouse is vital. Fran Lent and her husband pooled their life savings of $100,000. Lisa Marie's husband financed the entire project, and Lane Nemeth's family went bankrupt 4 times before they hit it big. These mompreneurs say if they have help with childcare and support from their families, they need not choose between work and motherhood. They can enjoy the best of both worlds. Farland Chang, NBC News, Los Angeles.
And when NBC Nightly News continues in a moment, opening up a new front in the tobacco wars.
By Hurricane Center standards, Danny was never classified as a major storm, but it caused plenty of damage and left an ugly mess to clean up. John Averett has seen many hurricanes, never one with this much rain. Floodwaters woke him up this morning.
This ice chest had floated out of the store and back to the back bedroom where I sleep, and
It bumped me on the arm. I thought something was in the room with me.
Averett owns the shrimp store along eastern Mobile Bay.
Still froze good and hard for right now.
But without electrical power, he stands to lose thousands of dollars. Utility companies face a massive task. Power lines are down all along the Gulf Coast. Highway crews are out too. Many roads are still impassable. And all around Mobile Bay, residents are already cleaning up and making emergency roof repairs. Danny turned out to be one of the slowest moving hurricanes along the Gulf in decades. Like an unwelcome guest, it sat here for so long that it dumped 41 inches of rain in Mobile Bay. Tree roots in saturated soil could not hold. This pine smashed into part of Bill Harrison's home and landed on his pickup truck.
It's just been something that we would not want to go through again. It's been more just exhausting more than frightening.
Tonight, Danny is only a rainstorm moving inland across the Florida Panhandle. And the message from the people around Mobile Bay is good riddance. Farland Chang, NBC News, Point Clear, Alabama. Boats had to be used to get some people out of harm's way as Danny's floodwaters soaked the Gulf Coast. All around Mobile Bay, Alabama, residents are cleaning up, drying out, and making emergency repairs. Carol Gordy is taking pictures so her insurance company can see the tree that smashed into her home.
It did put a big hole in the house, and all night long I've been bailing buckets and wiping up leaks because it's going from the front floor all the way into the bottom.
Danny turned out to be one of the slowest moving hurricanes along the Gulf in decades. It sat here for so long that it dumped 41 inches of rain in Mobile Bay. The soil was so saturated that most of these pecan trees around Carlos Peterson's home were blown away.
We did a lot of praying, and God was really with us. He spared us the tree coming to the house.
Danny dumped 13 inches of rain on John Averett's shrimp store.
Got a box full of shrimp over there I'm worried about losing.
All along the Gulf Coast, utility companies are busy restoring power. It could take weeks to clean up, but residents are relieved they can finally begin. Farland Chang, NBC News, Point Clear, Alabama. Like an uninvited guest, Hurricane Danny is the storm that won't go away. It has been pelting the Gulf Coast since Friday. This morning, as its leading edge hovered near the mouth of Mobile Bay, Alabama, many who had ridden it out last night were on the move. These vacationers are from England.
I've never seen anything like it. I can't believe I've never seen anything like it. Nothing like this in England.
Scary?
Yeah.
With maximum sustained winds near 80 miles an hour and gusts even higher, Danny leveled this 4-story condo under construction in the resort of Gulf Shores, Alabama.
My vinyl sides is coming off.
Jimmy Smalley wanted to escape Danny's fury.
We came down to get my boat, but we came a little late, and then the power lines fell, and we just got stuck.
Tens of thousands are without power. Many roads are impassable, and the highway which connects the Alabama mainland with Barrier Island resort towns has been closed. Joe Weed and other residents of this condominium tried to begin cleaning up even before the storm had stopped.
This is the first hurricane that we've actually been in, and it's terribly interesting and it's really beautiful, but it's a little scary.
The biggest problem from Hurricane Danny is not wind, but rain. It's dumped 18 to 20 inches in some parts, causing severe flooding in low-lying areas. More than 1,700 coastal residents from Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi are now riding it out in shelters. And with Hurricane Danny still spinning, that number is likely to grow. Farland Chang, NBC News, Gulf Shores, Alabama. It may look calm and tranquil, but Lake Davis, near Reno, Nevada, has a problem. It is threatened by thousands of northern pike, fish whose natural habitat is the colder waters up north. The state fears the aggressive pike will turn this fisherman's paradise into an underwater hunting preserve.
These fish are a very, very voracious predator. They're a top-of-the-line predator, the equivalent of the aquatic mountain lion.
The state is concerned that California's world-class trout, as well as its bass and salmon, will be devoured by the insatiable northern pike. And if the pike continues south, California's commercial and sport fishing industry could be devastated.
Boy, these guys are really strong.
The state suspects the pike, seen here in native Canadian waters, was illegally introduced into Lake Davis by fishermen 3 years ago. One mature female can lay 40,000 eggs a year. That is what's happening in Lake Davis. The number of pike grows 10 times larger each year. 6 years ago, in nearby Frenchman Lake, when the same problem was suspected, authorities used a chemical known as Newson Knoxfish to kill all the fish in the lake. 2 months later, officials restocked the lake with native fish. But unlike Frenchman Lake, Lake Davis here is used as a primary drinking water source for the small city of Portola. And that's why residents are furious about this plan to poison their lake.
Mad as hell is an understatement. We are enraged that the thought of putting poisons into our lake is even being considered.
Dale Fraser is afraid the poison contains a carcinogen, and it's never been used in a drinking water supply before.
The officials of the official game don't live here. They don't have to be here 10 years from now. We do.
So residents protested. At the state capitol, 10% of the city turned out.
I'm here to put the Department of Fish and Game on notice. Get ready for the fight of your life.
But Fish and Game and the state health department insist there is no reason for alarm.
These particular chemicals, according to Department of Health Services, are the kind that break down and don't persist.
Now the battle has moved to the courts. Residents succeeded in getting the poisoning delayed and still hope to kill the project for good. The next hearing will be this summer. Fish and Game officials say the legal fight only benefits the pike, and that poisoning the lake is the surest way to save it. Farland Chang, NBC News, Lake Davis, California. Like thousands of other Americans in the U.S. Navy, he's patriotic, loyal, and proud to defend his country.
Permission to come aboard.
But there's one thing about this sailor, one thing about his past that surprises most people.
When you think about it, it's sort of, wow, it does shock you a little bit.
30-year-old Vadim Gudin has essentially led a double life.
They say, hey man, are you sure you're not a KGB spy? Of course, nobody meant it seriously.
It has been a life propelled by extraordinary change.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
10 years ago, Mikhail Gorbachev still controlled the communist bloc. The Soviet Union still ruled as a superpower. And Vadim Gudin still believed the United States was the enemy.
This is Moscow, Red Square.
He wore a different uniform back then, one with a communist pin. Gudin was a Soviet citizen. The government drafted him when he turned 18, and soon he was operating a tank like this.
We lived in a constant fear of maybe attack from United States, and our particular enemy for training was a battleship New Jersey.
In war exercises, Soviet troops would imagine the USS New Jersey and pretend they were fighting the legendary ship. Gudin says there was plenty of Cold War hostility, but not much else. He earned the equivalent of $5 a month and rarely had enough to eat.
I always will remember the hunger. Hunger was my constant friend.
In 1987, Gudin was stationed at the edge of Siberia near the Bering Sea. But 10 years later, he now finds himself helping to defend a much different coast. Here at the Naval Station in Everett, Washington, this is the remarkable story of a young man who jumped ship. But just how did Vadim Gudin get from the Red Army to the Red, White, and Blue Navy?
10 years ago, I would have said that was highly unlikely and probably impossible.
Jack Matlock was the last U.S. ambassador to the Soviet Union.
And this experience of this gentleman, I think, really symbolizes the changes that have come about. I think it shows that the end of the Cold War is bringing greater normality to the world.
Christmas night, 1991. The USSR finally collapsed. The Soviet flag came down for the last time, and Gorbachev resigned.
Good evening. Mikhail Gorbachev and the Soviet Union are history.
By that historic day, Vadim Gudin had already switched sides, following other family members who emigrated to the United States. Eventually, without any special security check, he became a U.S. Navy machinist and ultimately a U.S. citizen. Do you see yourself as a living example of the Cold War that's over?
Yes, I am the living example. I mean, 10 years ago, I wouldn't even imagine that I'll be here and the things will change that much. And I joined the Navy to serve this country, to give back something.
What has this nation given to you?
They gave me everything, you know. They took me, they educate me, they gave me the chance to become somebody.
Gudin has remained close to his Russian roots, joining Seattle's growing Russian-American community. Still, he seems willing to trade his red caviar for some nachos.
Nachos?
Yeah, and cheese, that's it.
You don't want no meat?
Nah.
I thought he was Mexican. I couldn't believe he was Russian.
It's easy to see this former enemy has become a friend. Once a communist celebrating May Day, Vadim Gudin is now happy to be a capitalist on the 4th of July.
4th of July is Independence Day, and I'm glad that I live here in this free country. I'm glad I'm part of this, and I feel proud.
For today, Farland Chang, NBC News, Everett, Washington. He is getting the celebrity treatment as he tries to get accustomed to life on the outside. This weekend, Geronimo Pratt is in Louisiana to reunite with his 93-year-old mother he had not seen for more than 20 years. In 1972, he was convicted of murdering a school teacher in Santa Monica, California. A Vietnam veteran who earned medals for his service, Pratt says law enforcement authorities mistreated him.
They whipped me, they tortured me. And I told them, y'all wrong, I didn't do nothing.
He was framed, he says, because of his Black Panther Party membership. The government considered the Panthers, known for their armed confrontations with police in the 60s, to be a threat to national security. Many blacks considered the Panthers heroes because of community service programs they sponsored during those turbulent times. Pratt always claimed he was innocent of the murder, and last month a county judge overturned the conviction because the jury never knew that the prosecution's key witness was a paid informant. The district attorney plans to appeal. But for now, Pratt, who says he never gave up hope, is being cited as a role model for perseverance.
You know, Nelson Mandela went from P to P. He went from president to president. If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
And he is using his celebrity status to send a message.
You do not disrespect the women. You do not disrespect the children. Come on, T. You don't put no crack on my child. That's right.
Pratt is now a family man, with 2 children conceived during conjugal visits. On Friday, a special moment. He was there when his 14-year-old son graduated from middle school. Farland Chang, NBC News. This is Farland Chang. Lake Tahoe is the 10th deepest lake in the world and a top tourist attraction. But scientists say it became a victim of its own success, slowly being poisoned by too many cars and too many boats, by poor forest management, by construction causing runoff and erosion, and by chemicals designed to keep lawns and golf courses green. Researchers began studying Lake Tahoe nearly 40 years ago when the waters were relatively pristine and visibility was as deep as 100 feet. Now, visibility is only 70 feet, and it's being reduced by more than 1 foot each year. Key signs of how severe the problem is.
And it's telling us that this watershed is out of balance. It's out of whack. It isn't just the loss of clarity.
Out of whack means too many chemicals getting into the lake, which stimulates the growth of algae. It is algae which is turning the lake from blue to green, and algae is killing the microscopic life that feeds the fish. These shrimp-like creatures are near the bottom of the food chain.
They're the early warning system. If we begin to lose these, we're really going to have lost the lake.
From sediment samples, scientists know that algae did not become a problem until development started in the 1950s. Researchers hope the anti-pollution efforts announced today are not too late.
The lessons we learn in controlling man's impact on a very sensitive system like this can be applied to lakes everywhere.
Scientists estimate it could cost $1 billion to revitalize Lake Tahoe, and they warn that the work needs to begin soon. Farland Chang, NBC News, Lake Tahoe. It's just another Sunday service at the First Southern Baptist Church in Buena Park, California, a suburb of Los Angeles. But the pastor, Wiley Drake, is facing a jail term because of a battle between church and state.
I will obey the law, but I will not cross God's law to obey man's law.
A zoning law. The church allows homeless people to camp out on the parking lot and inside this enclosed patio. Joanne Kidwell manages this 200-unit apartment complex just down the street. She says the homeless are creating a neighborhood nuisance.
People coming on, getting into my trash dumpsters. When you ask them to leave, they become arrogant. They've gone into my laundry room. They've disrobed.
Drake says he should not be punished for being compassionate. He says he vowed to feed, house, and clothe the homeless ever since the day he kicked an old sleeping drunk off church grounds.
I went back to my office and I committed to God, I'll never throw anybody off of this church again.
Marlene Taylor nearly died from pneumonia when she lived on the street. After a few months at the church, she got her health back, found a factory job, and can now afford to rent a room nearby.
I've seen them come here suicidal, practically suicidal, not wanting to live anymore. And I've seen them walk out of here with their heads high, a job and then a new place to live.
The city says Reverend Drake could have set up a legal shelter by applying for the proper permit and following strict rules.
This case is not about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing to help the homeless. It's a good thing. This case is not about any of those things. This case is simply about land use and zoning.
Drake claims the city's rules would not have allowed religious teaching at the shelter. Last week, a jury found Drake guilty of illegally housing the homeless. He's to be sentenced on that charge in 3 weeks.
Hi. I have a preliminary injunction.
Within days, the city served the church with an eviction order. That order is now being appealed, but Drake says he's prepared to defy the order. Farland Chang, NBC News, Buena Park, California.
You think I'm kidding? That's the name of the law firm.
Michael Bloomberg was once fired as a Wall Street equity trader, but he went on to build one of the fastest growing media empires in the world. In this Thursday's Entrepreneurs Only segment, he talks about his success and how to survive in the information age.
Meet the man whose success story is legendary on Wall Street and whose name is literally all over the financial markets.
Hi, Sue. This is Frankie from the Hong Kong.
Michael Bloomberg built from scratch an information service that provides news and financial data to business people all over the globe.
Coming to you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
His TV stations broadcast 24 hours a day to 40 countries in 7 languages.
The Orangina purchase includes 4 bottling and concentrate plants in France.
And with his radio network, magazines, books, online business, and wire service, they add up to a media empire worth $1.5 billion. Bloomberg calls himself the David who challenged the Goliaths of financial news, Reuters and Dow Jones.
We went and created a niche product that the mainstream guys didn't care about.
Bloomberg's niche market includes investment bankers, bond traders, and money managers. He has become the big fish in the waters of financial news. He has a team of 3,000 workers, and he demands loyalty and honesty, weapons to guard against his biggest fear, becoming a Goliath himself.
One of the reasons for my trip through Asia, and one of my reasons I constantly go and visit our branches and talk to our salesmen and talk to our customers, is to see whether or not there aren't some upstarts coming along blind, doing to us what we did to the established companies that we competed with.
And how can those upstarts challenge Bloomberg? Through the internet.
The threat of new entrants coming in at a lower cost using the internet platform could challenge the profitability.
The Asian crisis poses another challenge for Bloomberg. The crisis has forced brokerages to consolidate, thus lowering demand for his financial data. But overcoming challenges is what Bloomberg learned at an early age. This Boy Scout from Boston plans to stay on top through the work habits that got him there.
You come in earlier, you stay later, you spend less time at lunch, you take less vacations. You will do a better job. You'll be happier because the results will be there.
Fresh out of Harvard Business School, Bloomberg emerged into a rising star as an equity trader with Salomon Brothers. But when Salomon sold out in 1981 to a commodities firm, the new owners fired him and his outspoken ways.
Virtually every CEO didn't go to the best schools. Virtually every CEO didn't have a career that went straight up. They've all gone through what we call the school of hard knocks.
Bloomberg's hard knock was cushioned by a severance check of $10 million. He invested $4 million of that into his new business before he started making money. Now, Bloomberg is on the cutting edge of the news media and information technology. In his book, Bloomberg by Bloomberg, the tycoon is described by Rupert Murdoch as the most creative media entrepreneur of our time, and with Bill Gates, perhaps the most successful. Bloomberg attributes that to teamwork.
You don't have to hog the credit. Saying I didn't do what this other great team did is the ways you can succeed the next time around.
Despite being a big tycoon, Bloomberg says the key to success is to keep thinking like a small company. Resist bureaucracy and never rest on your laurels.
Michael Bloomberg, the subject of our Entrepreneurs Only every Thursday. More Asia Business Morning after this. And now our Monday edition of Asia Rising. We look at a small company with big plans. Sunday is a mobile phone service that started in Hong Kong just as the Asian crisis began. But this North American company has managed to carve out a niche for itself in the toughest cell phone market in the world. Hong Kong has more adults per capita using cell phones than anywhere else in the world. So how does a North American newcomer break into this market? With funny TV ads that, well, break wind. The man making the calls for Sunday is Craig Ehrlich.
Sunday is the one day of the week here in Hong Kong that we don't work. We have time for ourselves. We do whatever we want. So Sunday is kind of a lifestyle feeling.
One of Sunday's unique lifestyle features, finding a date through your cell phone by searching for other subscribers who fit your profile.
You see, I use Sunday, then I'm handsome.
Other unique services include Mobile Jukebox, which allows users to download new music and send it to their friends.
Buy one, get one free, press 3.
And a shopping service that tells users where to find the best bargains at the nearest stores. Considering Sunday started at the worst possible time, just as Asia's economic crisis began, the company, backed by its humorous TV campaign, has achieved striking results. Sunday has gone from nothing to revenues of $170 million, a workforce of 700, and a customer base of 270,000. Customers tend to be younger, 30 and under. But analysts say those customers are not the most ideal.
Sunday offers services or focuses on customers that are more price sensitive. That means that they go for lower income type users.
Also, its customer base is not as large as its top rivals. Bottom line, analysts say Sunday could have trouble raising money, and that's crucial for keeping up with SmartTone and Hong Kong Telecom, bigger players with better technology. Sunday will test the fundraising waters when it goes public within 6 months. It expects to break even soon after 2.5 years in business, which is about the average for a new telecom service. By next year, Sunday hopes to be making a profit
just as cell phones and the internet start converging.
Wherever you go here in Hong Kong, you're going to be able to browse the internet, use it for everything you do.
Sunday says its forecast will be for even bluer skies after the China market opens up. Until then, Sunday is building on its image as the coolest place to connect.
More Asia Business Morning in a moment. First, this reminder, check out our website at cnnfn.com for all the latest global business news and U.S. stock quotes. Also, we'd like your feedback, so email us at asiabusiness@mail.cnnfn.com. Now our Monday Asia Rising segment. Korea's automakers ran into trouble in the mid-90s by expanding too fast and neglecting consumer needs. But now, thanks to improved standards and lower prices, some are driving fast into the U.S. market. Recently, I was in Los Angeles where I took a closer look at how Korean car makers have staged their comeback.
With help from its humorous TV ads, Kia Motors is on the right track. Sales for Korea's #2 car maker have been up 50% every year for the past 3 years. Meanwhile, sales for Korea's #1 car maker, Hyundai Motors, are up 64% from last year. That's much better than growth seen by either U.S. or Japanese car makers.
Things are better for the Koreans. I think they're working harder on quality. I think they've learned some lessons from the Japanese, as the Americans have.
Does this one have dual airbags? Oh, yeah.
The big Korean car makers, Hyundai, its affiliate Kia, and newcomer Daewoo, still only make up less than 2% of the U.S. market. But they are shifting into higher gear, with Kia the most impressive. After just 5 years in the U.S., Kia is now among the fastest-selling cars.
We followed a Corolla on a 200,000-mile road test.
Kia's strategy has been to underprice the Japanese imports.
We priced the Sophia for around 3,000 less. We're obsessed, not stupid.
And to emphasize quality.
Korean cars they're just more attractive, I guess, and dependable.
Well, we've been a Kia dealer now for 6 months. Our sales have increased from 0 to 30 units, which is unheard of, because of the reputation the Korean cars had.
To overcome that poor reputation from a decade ago, the Korean car companies took a bold step, providing long-term warranties. Hyundai's 10-year warranty is twice as long as most other car makers.
From a short-term marketing perspective, it's brilliant. As I said, from a long-term perspective, it's a little risky.
I think it offers us an opportunity to stand up in front of people and say, we put our money where our mouth is.
The low prices have also been a big lure. Hyundai's Accent and Daewoo's Lanos are the lowest priced cars sold in America at under $8,750.
It was the pricing, I have to be very honest with you.
But not everyone is happy with what they paid for.
Really good.
On customer satisfaction surveys, Korean cars have ranked below average. But according to marketing firm J.D. Power, the cars have consistently improved over the past 5 years.
And now with robust sales, they are making rivals envious and giving Koreans faith they can stay on the road to recovery.
The momentum in the Korean car sector is likely to build up further. Merrill Lynch says the domestic market is improving in South Korea and has almost fully recovered to the pre-crisis level. I'll be back with a recap of the markets here on Asia Business Morning in just a moment. First, this reminder, for all the latest global business news and U.S. stock quotes, check out our website at cnnfn.com. And for more news about Asia, click on to cnn.com/Asia Now, an internet collaboration combining the strengths of CNN, Time, and Asia Week.
Now our Monday feature, Asia Rising. This week we look at Australia's #1 winemaker, Southcorp, whose major brands include Lindemans and Penfolds. The world's 10th largest winemaker has thrived during the financial crisis by going west, and now it's riding the wave of Asia's recovery by going east. In the vineyards down under, the grapes are still ripening, but business is already sweet. Australia's wine exports jumped 25% in the past year.
Australian wine is perceived as being good value, well priced in the market.
Australia has a small share of the global wine market, but that share is expanding fast, from just 2.5% to 4% in the past 3 years. Leading the way, Southcorp, with $660 million in total sales in the year to June.
International sales account for almost 50% of our total revenue.
Most of those exports go to the U.S. and Europe. These Western markets help Southcorp maintain annual sales growth of nearly 30%, even during the worst of the Asian crisis. Asia accounts for just 12% of Southcorp's overseas market. But Asian consumers are catching on fast, and wine consumption is growing 15% a year. One reason, action movie star Jackie Chan.
The wine I like is Australian one.
After the movie star's endorsement last year, sales of Southcorp's Lindemans brand jumped an average 110% in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Southeast Asia. The Jackie Chan wines appeal to consumers wanting value for money. One bottle costs about $12 US. Now with Asia's recovery, Southcorp is going after the high end of the market by selling a $90 bottle of wine made under Chan's personal guidance. But wine specialists doubt whether real connoisseurs will buy into the marketing.
I think that people who are buying at the top end don't want to be told what to buy. They are knowledgeable and they know already.
But Southcorp says connoisseurs in the culinary capitals of Asia will pay for good wine to enhance good food.
We're incredibly bullish. We really believe in this region and we'll continue to invest in this region.
Southcorp is also counting on more Asians drinking wine because of reports that it can prevent heart disease.
Every day, like a few glasses, is good for your health.
And with more people than ever drinking to their health, Southcorp plans on being there to fill wine cellars around the world. And just last week, Southcorp was described by the U.S. Wine Bible, Wine Spectator magazine, as arguably the most successful global wine company in the world. I'll have a recap of the markets up next.